glitters is not gold.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. Unless I show scientific data and say it's a fact, of course it's my opinion. The concept of treasure in One Piece is a topic that Oda treats with a surprising amount of care. If you think about it, the entire story starts with a journey to find a pile of gold. Gold Roger challenged the whole world to find his treasure at the end of the Grand Line. It is supposed to be more wealth than any one person could ever spend throughout their lifetime. Thus, the very first scene in every single version of One Piece is the call for adventure for material wealth. In the hero's journey, the point should be the money, but Luffy cares so little about his financial situation that it's almost comical. It's why he was given a different, more personal call to adventure. His focus is on obtaining the title as the freest man alive and meeting Shanks again as an equal. There is a reason Luffy says, "I will beat the Pirate King," and not, "I will find the One Piece." This is an intentional choice by Oda, because the One Piece is a McGuffin. It's not a criticism, by the way, it's just a fact. It is very hard to get an audience to care about things in a story. Money, weapons, ships. Theoretically, the people observing the tale won't care about those things, but Oda does a great job of getting people invested into these things, because it's not about the objects. Just like any heist movie, it's not really about the end goal of the wealth. The objects aren't important, it's the symbolism and connection to the characters that we actually care about.
The slave, the pressure, they'll be destroyed. And I care! What is the deal?
On many different occasions, Oda points out how little money and treasure actually matters during times of crisis. If you're stranded with no food, all of the gold in the world will not help you. If a group of pirates are threatening your home, you would spend your life savings to protect people you love. If you're dying of an illness, what does it matter if you spend all of your money to survive? Even if you have an absurd amount of wealth, it can't fix a ship broken beyond repair, and it cannot bring people back to life. Not to say that Oda completely dismisses the need for money to survive in everyday life, but he realizes that it's really just a means to an end. The money symbolizes the means to get what you want, and even then, it doesn't usually get the crew what they want. Instead, the Straw Hats reach their goal for an arc by struggling against the antagonist and creating connections with the people around them. It's all about the empathetic human connection. Without that, the Straw Hats wouldn't ever be successful. Oda understands that it's important to get the audience invested on how the events affect the people. That's why many of the various arcs involves helping or recruiting crewmates or allies. Even in Skypiea, the arc where the goal is gold, Oda went out of his way to show the history of the gold as it involves the people around it. And the main villain of the arc was the only one that cared more about the gold than actual human lives.
Only life is priceless, and making each day count.
Now, there are many different things and objects that Oda focuses on. The first thing that comes to mind is the infamous Straw Hat. The reason people care about it is because it's Luffy's treasure. It's a symbol of his promise and bond to Shanks. It's almost as much a part of Luffy as his arms. It's what distinguishes his Jolly Roger from other flags. It's how his crew is identified. It's their name. By doing this, Oda made sure that we care about the Straw Hat as though it is a character in itself, a person, because it has a life and story of its own. The same thing could be said with Zoro's swords, to a smaller extent at least. It symbolizes his promise with Kuna. It's why he won't ever part with that sword, except maybe when he has his gold within reach. This is like many other objects in the series: a pet shop, a floating restaurant, a town, a country, an island, a golden bell. We don't care about the objects themselves, we care about the people surrounding them, because none of these objects would have value if they didn't represent the characters involved with each arc.
Oh my God. I get it.
Even when something of importance is destroyed, there needs to be human connections involved to make the audience care about it. Otherwise, it's just a building, a piece of wood, a rock, or a town. The greatest example is the Going Merry. Oh, and spoiler alert, by the way. 3, 2, 1, alright. So, the first real important death in One Piece ends up being the ship. Now, people do die throughout the series, especially in flashbacks and off-screen, and there were a few characters who were introduced only to die a few minutes later, but I don't really count those. I mean a genuine, everyone is mourning about it death scene. The Merry's destruction started at the beginning of the Water 7 arc. All of the gold from the previous arc was meant to fix the ship, but it was not meant to be because the Merry was damaged beyond repair, crushing the crew emotionally. It was so serious that even Zoro, the most stoic member of the crew, gained a melancholy look, lamenting the destruction of the ship which carried his friends so far. It was Oda calling his shot way ahead of time, warning that this will be an arc where a major death scene will occur.
I'm not crying. I'm just sweating through my eyes.
While the Merry is an object, Oda did a lot of work making people care about it. Not only does it symbolize the earliest parts of the Straw Hat's journey, it became its own character by developing a will of its own. While not the most in-depth character ever, Oda did just enough to make the Merry's destruction a heartbreaking affair. She was the ship that always carried our heroes to safety. She cared about them and pushed herself well past her limits to rescue them. How could you not be moved by that? Even the characters less likely to cry were emotional during her funeral at sea. In many ways, Merry symbolized the start of the journey, when things were easy and simple, when Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji were big fishes in a small pond. The main characters had to adapt to the grand line. They had to grow, but objects cannot do that. They're stagnant, even if they're symbolic. They're along for the ride. They're the treasures that the characters carry with them. While the gold, ship, and even weapons may come and go, the true treasures remain. The things that people value more than anything, because it's the objects that symbolizes their hopes, connections, and dreams. Oda tackles the issue of treasure and McGuffins at the very start of One Piece with the Buggy arc. He shows the difference between Luffy's group and normal pirates like Buggy's crew. Buggy talks about treasure under the sea, but the audience really does not care about that at all. But the treasure that the Straw Hats value have more sentimental value. Even Nami's obsession with money comes into play here because it's her way of taking care of the people around her. Sometimes, she also just likes having people in debt to her, but that's more comic relief than anything else. When lives are on the line, she drops the greed rather quickly. For a series named after and has the goal of theoretical monetary wealth, One Piece is about everything but the actual treasure. Oda always has the conflict revolve around human suffering, whether in the crew or in the populace of an island. It's a brilliant way to invest the audience into a manga named after the McGuffin. At the same time, the final treasure better be good. If there isn't mountains of gold, diamond, and lore, everyone will be disappointed. This is a series that has been going on for close to 30 years. Luffy has been sailing to find this treasure for as long as I've been alive. If the true treasure ends up being the journey or the friendships they made along the way, I will be very much upset.
Disappointed!
Luckily, Oda already promised that there will be a treasure. He just better be ready to deliver, just like how he built up this final battle coming as putting Marineford to shame. It's the problem with making the goal be a McGuffin. The writer has to find a way to deliver and to make the audience actually care. Of course, Oda knows how to deliver emotional moments. He claims to know what the final scene in One Piece will be, and I do trust him, but it's hard not to worry. Not many long-running series end with a bang. Usually they go out with a fart, or at least a breath and a sigh. The actual treasure One Piece will define the entire journey of the series, and we can only hope and wait to see if Oda brings it all together. You're welcome to disagree with me. That's fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Please consider giving me a like and subscribing. It would really help me out. And hey, do you like stories about an interconnected world? Then consider giving my LPCO books a try. They are all connected in some way, but you can jump in at any point, unless it's a series. Then you have to start at the beginning. But I got 3 books out right now and 3 coming next year. You will not have to wait long for content. Either way, thank you. I appreciate you. Do not despair.